Hey guys, I'm Melissa and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I started filming a healthy what I eat in a day video. You guys know I like to film those every once in a while to share with you. And I thought I would actually make a video chatting a little bit about how I eat. And so I'm going to share with you something called calorie density. This is something that really just blew my mind when I first found out about it. And I just remember scouring the internet trying to get more information and learn about people who are eating this way and just learning more of the fundamental reasons why this is super effective for weight loss and just maintaining a healthy weight throughout your life without ever having to count calories, weigh your food, measure your food. That is just something that I've never really been interested in. I just find it, for me personally, I just never found it natural. Like I look at other animals in nature and they all eat until they're satiated. They eat until they're full. They know when to stop eating and they know when they're hungry and they kind of just trust their bodies. And I feel like human beings have that same mechanism built into us. And I heard a really interesting kind of comparison where someone said that, you know, do you ever have to measure how many breaths you take in a day? Or do you ever have to measure how many sips of water you take to get yourself properly hydrated? No, because we have these systems built into us to kind of let us know, you know, when we need food, we get hungry or tummy grumbles. And when you're full, you feel that full. We actually have something called stretch receptors in our brains. So when your stomach gets full, you actually have receptors that go to your brain to say, oof, that's enough, we've had enough. And then you have that feeling where you don't want any more food. So for me, I just found that calorie density, learning about that made a lot of sense. And so I'm going to link some videos. Maybe I'll find 10 super interesting and educational videos all about calorie density, and I'll put that in the description box of this video. So if what I'm saying is interesting to you and you're like, yeah, I want to learn more about that, that kind of makes sense, then you can go and learn more about it in those videos. And I do kind of want to preface this by just saying that this is just my personal life experience. This is how I eat. This is what feels good for my body. And so if you are listening to me and you're already thinking, oh no, I do not want to listen to what she has to say about what I should be eating to lose weight or to get to my ideal body weight or to stay slim. Like if that is how you're feeling, then trust yourself, trust your body. I am a big believer that you know what's right for you and just trust what feels right. So this information is just for anyone who is feeling like, yeah, I am looking for a ways so that I can stop measuring my food, stop counting calories, and still lose weight. And so what calorie density is, the best way to kind of describe it is actually in pictures and with showing you calorie per pounds of different foods. So I may put up some images on the screen and some words to kind of help make my point in this video. But you know, I remember watching a slide that showed 2 fig Newtons and an entire cantaloupe or something like that were the exact same amount of calories. Now, which one do you think is going to make you feel full? Obviously, 2 tiny little cookies are not going to make you feel completely satiated and filled like something that is so water rich and fiber rich like fruit and vegetables, like a massive cantaloupe. And the reason for that is the calorie density per pound in foods varies so dramatically. Something like dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, those things are somewhere around 100 calories per pound, meaning if you ate an entire pound of that food, you would have only consumed a very little amount of calories, only 100 calories. Whereas something like oil is the highest calorie per pound that you can get at close to 4,000 calories per pound of oil. So now you can see when people are innocently putting oily or creamy dressings on healthy food or lower calorie dense food, that they're all of a sudden tripling or quadrupling the amount of calories they're consuming in a meal that really fills up your stomach in the same way. And so for me, that really made a lot of sense. Again, everyone's a little bit different, but for me personally, I need a certain level of fullness to feel satisfied, or else I'm just thinking about when am I going to eat again. And so for me personally, I like to eat a big plate of food. Like Alex will look at me and say, are you seriously going to sit and eat all of that? And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm hungry. And like, that's just how my body is. Like, I need a big portion of food to feel satisfied. So the majority of the food that I'm getting are all under 600 calories per pound. Things like rice, things like potatoes, beans, legumes, vegetables, steamed or raw, fruit. These foods I eat ad libitum, which just means until I'm completely satiated and full. There's no measuring, there's no weighing. If I want more, if I'm having steamed potatoes and broccoli and beans, then I just eat until I'm completely full. And if you've been watching my what I eat in a day videos, you might notice that I don't eat tiny portions of food. I will eat a lot of food. And that's just what really works for me. And I noticed that when I started cutting out adding oil to things and having a lot of nut butters, which this is not to say that these aren't healthy foods. They're just so calorie dense that I actually was at my heaviest when I was vegan. I mean, I've been vegan for 6 years, but I was vegan and I still was 25 to 30 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I was eating healthy. I was like, what's going on? Like, my jeans aren't fitting. I did feel like a little just uncomfortable. Like, I would sit down and I have a small frame. I'm only 5'2.5", and I've got I've got small wrists, small shoulders. That extra 20 to 30 pounds on me really felt like a big difference. I could feel it when I was walking, when I was moving, when I was sitting. It wouldn't feel as comfortable around my midsection. And I knew, I was like, I do not want to have to count calories. There's got to be a better way to kind of just, tweak some things here and there without having to restrict. And so when I came upon this information, I don't remember quite who is the first person to teach me this. I know Chef AJ was one of them. She's got some amazing content. And when I say some, I mean tons. Like, she's got hundreds, if not thousands of videos. I will link some of my favorites in the description box. And she is someone who I believe lost quite a bit of weight, like maybe 60 to 100 pounds. I'm not exactly sure how much she lost, but quite a bit of weight. And she was also vegan for years. She was a vegan chef, and so she was wondering the same kind of thing. She's thinking, hey, I'm vegan, doesn't vegan mean you're supposed to be slim? And then she realized that like what she was consuming was a lot of packaged foods, processed foods. Again, these things it's not that they're necessarily all unhealthy, but many of them just contain a really, really high concentration of calories. And so when I was seeing some of the comparisons, like when I saw what a pound of baked or boiled potatoes looks like versus a pound of crackers, I was thinking, well, I could totally eat that amount of crackers, if not twice that. Like, I could easily polish off an entire box of crackers at once. But because they are dehydrated, they're dried foods, they're processed foods, they are so much more calorie dense than having a wet starch, like something like oatmeal, something like potatoes, something like chickpeas and black beans. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I eat black beans, chickpeas. I make dips pretty much every single day. That's something that I love to have. Super filling. People look and say, how do you eat that many potatoes and still stay slim? It's because I'm not drowning them in oil. I'm not putting vegan cheese all over them like I used to. I used to eat that Daiya vegan cheese a lot, the packaged vegan processed meats. And they're not necessarily health foods. They're, now that I've really focused on eating plants, eating plant-based, whole natural plant foods in their whole form, meaning not there's a big difference with consuming a pound of raisins or dried cranberries that are often sweetened with sugar versus sitting and eating a pound of grapes or a pound of cranberries whole. That is going to be so much more filling because of the fiber and the water content that's going to fill you up, and you're consuming a lot less calories without even having to calculate it or think about it. So just making these little changes, if you're thinking, well, where do I begin, and you just want to make one or two tiny little changes, the two biggest ones that I would say that you will notice a difference if you just make these two changes over time. Again, this is all about a gradual, natural, healthy weight loss, nothing rapid or extreme or drastic. And so the two changes I I would suggest are: one, stop adding oil to things. If you can start just eating vegetables as they are, steaming vegetables, putting some garlic powder, some chili flakes, maybe a little bit of salt and pepper, and reducing adding oil. Oil is the highest calorie dense food that you can get. I am not arguing whether or not it is a healthy food, but it is very calorie dense. So you are tripling, quadrupling, maybe 5-timesing the amount of calories that you are having in the identical meal. So not adding oils and oily dressings to things. And the second one would be nut butters. If you need to eat nuts, then have some whole nuts. But nut butters, because they're ground up and they're blended up, it's so easy to overconsume. Like, I would pack on the peanut butter and almond butter onto my oatmeal, and I would use a lot because it's so tasty and filling and yummy. And that was, I guarantee you, that one change alone, like stop adding peanut butter to things. Oh my goodness, I think that was a big one. And I know that if I just made that one change, if I started consuming a lot of peanut butter today, that 2 months from now, even if I exercised as much as I possibly could, like, I would gain weight. My weight would go up. Again, this information is just, I feel weird sometimes talking about weight loss. I feel like people have enough pressure as it is around weight loss. And I heard something that it was the #1 personal goal of people in the developed world is to lose weight. And there's so much frustration. Like, people struggle with their weight. I'm aware it causes pain. It causes low self-esteem. It causes people to feel guilty when they go off of their diets and they try to restrict and then they don't. And so by no means am I trying to say, like, hey, listen to me, I know all the answers. I'm just sharing something that has been super easy for me. And if you do want something where you can kind of take the reins off and not measure, not count, not ever feel like, oh, I can only eat this amount of calories, I can only eat this small portion of food, and then I'm done for the day and I can't eat till tomorrow. Like, to me, that's struggle. And if I can share something that was helpful for me, that allows you to just eat until you're full, and not worry about it. Like, remember, when I gave that kind of comparison to animals in the wilderness, they don't measure their food, they just eat until they're full. They don't have the problem of packaged foods, right? Humans have kind of artificially made these very calorie dense, calorie rich foods, like chocolate, which is, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 calories a pound, like deep fried foods, chips, and cookies, cupcakes, all of these delicious things that are very rich in calories. Like, an animal out in nature is not going to find chocolate bars growing and having to worry about measuring and weighing the amount of chocolate they're allowed that day. So for me personally, I like to eat ad libitum, as Chef AJ always says in her videos. I like to eat that way because it just feels nice to me. I just like to be able to fill my plate and eat as much as I want of the healthy foods that are lower on that calorie density scale. So if you found this information helpful or you're curious about it, again, check out the links in the description box, the video recommendations of videos that I found to be super helpful. Some of the people that I'll recommend to you are Dr. John McDougall, Dr. Anthony Lim. He has a really cool webinar showing the slides of different foods and how much, like, the calorie per pound difference in different foods. That really, seeing the visual representation of it really opened my eyes. Chef AJ, as I've said, Dylan at Well Your World. That is a newer channel to me. He's a channel that I found more recently, but great content, very high quality content. He's really engaging with his audience, which I love. Like, he answers questions and does live videos a lot, and so many more. So just check out that description box, and I will see you in my next video. I hope you're doing well, and go out and savor and enjoy this beautiful day of your life. Bye.